folks. Welcome to Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. I have one here that could possibly trip me up. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm not exactly sure. I have Mr. Rich Hall, who has been introduced to me by Jamie Roberts, and Jamie brings so many talented people our way. Rich is an artist. He hosts a show. He's got a lot on the go, and I don't want to say too much. I just want to dive right in. But Rich, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me, Sean.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to. I mean, Jamie sends me the spec, and it's like, wow, this is really interesting. I told her right away, I have to talk to you.
Okay, let's talk. So basically, I'm a current, not really full-time show promoter. I've been doing this for the last 25 years. Um, Before all that, high school, college, I was trained in illustration and cartooning, and I took a break from the art to focus on music. And then, as I was dialing back on the promotion and doing the music stuff, I kind of got back, falling in love with art. And then once I moved from once I moved from New York City to Seattle, I was kind of a little burned out on what I was doing music wise, so I decided to focus on, accidentally, on the art stuff. And then now here we are at my first gallery show coming up in Denver, Colorado, which is a huge accomplishment for me personally. So yeah, it's just a big culmination of what I've done in the past and like what I'm doing for the future. So
So
ready to talk.
in terms of the music that you were, I guess, pursuing at the time, um, you know, uh, you're in New York, and obviously there's New York's. I lived in Toronto for 7 years. You can go to a club, on one city block and go 2 city blocks away, and you're in a total separate sort of sphere of music. What were you into at the time that you, I guess, went to Seattle to pursue it?
Well, first of all, you broke up a little bit.
Well, I'm just saying, what genre of music were you into
Okay.
that you decided to move from New York, that you felt Seattle was maybe a better place to pursue it?
It wasn't even music. It was just maybe like quality of life. Like I recently got engaged. Um, I felt like I did everything. Being like born and raised in New York, I felt like I did everything. I booked every band that I needed to book. I just was feeling like running in place. I wanted a little bit more, and like having a lot of friends out here already, and visiting and stuff, and everyone's having houses and like a life, and like it's like, oh, maybe this is a time for a change. And again, being newly engaged, I was like, I want more for my life, and let's see where it goes. And like, we ended up in Seattle kind of like accidentally. Faith kind of like put us here, so like ever since it's just been so like great. So I'm really glad I kind of made the jump when I usually like scared of change. And then again, I feel like moving here. There's a lot of people already involved in music years before I was here, so like I felt like a little to do a little something different with my time. And then as years got, I'm gonna be here 10 years this Labor Day. And it was a couple of years, and I felt comfortable. And a lot of people who like kind of left the music industry, just how like scenes evolve. People
Yeah.
leave and people come through. I kind of like dipped back into doing the music promotion deal, and just felt my hold here. Like I could do both. I could do art, and I could do shows whenever I want to, and all that kind of stuff. So it's been really a cool transition. And I say this to a lot of people, like, yeah, I retired at 35, and I just moved and like got a house and like kicked my feet up, and I'm painting crazy pictures, and people are like, yeah, you deserve it. So yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because I've been to both cities. So I've been to New York, I've been to Seattle. They couldn't be more different in terms of feel and whatever. I mean, New York is it's like Toronto. I mean, like it's just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Something always on the go. Seattle's very laid back. I mean, obviously, there's a Starbucks everywhere. You get to deal with the weather, which is different. Um, did you find there was an adjustment, and maybe that's what led you to the art side of things, where you're kind of getting a little bit laid back? In Seattle's Vancouver, Canada, in a way. Sort of the same climb, the same sort of feel, the same vibe, that type of thing.
Um, it helped. It helped me kind of like slow down. Kind of realize I was going 3,000 miles per hour for 35 years,
Yeah.
nonstop. So it definitely made me realize, like, okay, you're getting older. You want to raise a family. You kind of want to spread out. Like moving here was like the first time I ever lived in a house. Like,
Well, and
which is
a lot of people where I live don't understand that because it's like, we got a housing crunch here in Halifax, Nova Scotia that's kind of started the last couple of years. But a lot of people that I know grew up in, the urban house, like the suburban sort of house with the yard and the picket fence, and people don't understand the apartment buildings.
right. And like, when they come through New York, they're like, "How do you live like this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's pretty good." And then when you come here, like to visit, I'm like, I really want this. I need that space, because I'm done with neighbors and apartments and, just noise and people on top of you. I was just like, okay, great. And I feel like that made me feel comfortable to kind of like move into a different direction than music and get out of my comfort zone because I had room to work and like make a larger scale painting when I wanted to. Just do something else without the whole like pressure of being in the city, like. But I do apply my East Coast hustle to the West Coast, in which I feel like serves me as in an advantage. So like I feel like I'm more successful here, as much as like I'm really. I can go to New York. I can go toe to toe, blow for blow with New York City, but here I can get a little bit of a head, and like it helps my family as well. So,
I can see that, and I mean, I know a lot of people from New York, a lot of people from New Jersey, and I mean, very good friend of mine that has a sports podcast in New Jersey. I mean, like you just don't mess with them, man. Like there's an attitude out there. You know what I'm saying?
I plant my foot a little firmly. I make sure the Yankee hats like the first thing they see is the Yankee hat, and they kind of like, oh, and it's just like, and they're like, are you really from New York? And I'm like, yes, I am actually. And they're like, oh, okay, But all jokes aside, like there's got to be assertiveness where like, especially working in a different part of the world, you have to like assert yourself. Like, I'm not gonna take any crap.
Sure.
I work like this. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. This is how I work. I usually work alone, except for like raising my son. Got can't do that. But I feel like that's the advantage I have, and I keep capitalizing on it, and got me to this point where I'm now this instead of music guy artist, but artist music guy. It's changed the percentages like quite well.
And I do want to get into that shortly, and I mean it's you're starting to see a lot more musicians that are getting into art. Like not to draw an easy one, but I remember watching the Metallica video there when they were making Saint Anger, where Lars is like selling paintings for $2 million, and Paul Stanley's painting now, and it seems like, I don't want to say it's trendy, but it's almost it seems to me like it's another outlet. You can only write so many songs in the run of a day. You gotta do something else. And before I go on, Jets or Giants fan?
Giants.
Oh, thank you, sir. All right.
Giants, Yankees, Rangers. Just put it that way, okay?
There you go.
Okay.
So I guess you get out there and you knew a few people, but did you just kind of go, I'm gone and I got to reestablish myself? And were you able to take any of those contacts? You basically had a white canvas, so to speak.
Well, it definitely helped me through social media where people were like, "You paint?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I never had the time." I was like, 8 shows a month, 8 to 10 shows a month. Like, I never had time to do it. I always like, treated booking shows at that time as my day job because it was my main income. So I had it like 9 to 5, and then dealing with booking agents and clubs and managers and stuff. I kind of like saw where I needed another like an outlet as well. So it's definitely more therapeutic than trying to book a show and dealing with, like a festival, and yeah, I think it's, and again, you mentioned like Paul Stanley and stuff like that. That's their lives for like decades, touring nonstop globally. All this, there's got to be an outlet somewhere. There's got to be something like non-destructive, because a lot of like look at Scott Weiland. He died because he, got into his demons the wrong way. He never didn't really have an outlet other than the band because the band was his business. It wasn't an outlet anymore.
No, that's a
So
great point. Because I mean, like I do promotion. I play in two bands. I do A&R for a record label. I do a bunch of things, and I'm so music focused that when that gets turned off, and it doesn't get turned off for a long period of time, but I go like, now what? And I mean, I wouldn't consider myself an artist per se. I mean, like the 365 Crayola crayons. If I was to grab one, stick
right.
painting would be it. But so I understand what you're saying there.
Because, and that's another thing too. Like being a promoter is 24/7. There's no off. There's no like I'm on vacation. Like even when I have 3 shows and I'm somewhere else, I still got to make sure that this is going on the way I made it. I signed the club, like this is how it's going, and that's it. And yeah, the wife gets aggravated, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, it's this East Coast time, it's dinner time here, and like it distracts you, so like the art I can like, and like we recently, like, well, 6 years ago we moved into a bigger house with a bigger space for me to paint, and I was like, if I'm gonna do this and we have this space, this is my job. So like, and then like I gotta focus. I have to turn it off because sometimes you get like a hair hair up your butt and like, okay, I gotta like sketch it out and get it over with, but I could turn it off. Like, okay, 10 o'clock again, 10 o'clock I get all showered, I go to the studio. 3 o'clock I gotta go pick up the kid, and like from 4 to 7 I'll watch the Yankee game, have dinner with my family, and then after that I'm back to work. So you got to treat it like that or it's going to consume your life like music was. And it was really bumming me out because I had to take it to that next level to keep up with the New York life, I guess, let's say. And I found this outlet by painting again and just releasing energy somewhere else instead of fighting with my wife or like being rude to my kid or being rude to my friends or like or drinking, like, which I don't do anymore because I don't have to be social like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so like, and like other things, but you find the positive outlet and it will make positive like ripples in your life. So,
and do you find, Rich, that because I talk to people all the time about, like, I'm a drummer. For years and years and years when I was learning to play, I would board myself up in my parents' basement and learn the chops of people were out doing fun stuff and I didn't get to, and they don't understand it.
right.
Do you find that you have to put people away, I guess, from a social aspect to keep and maintain your schedule that you're trying to do? And if that's the case, is that a hard discipline for you to undertake?
No, I think when it comes to art versus music, you want more people in your life. You want more people to see what you're doing positively. It's art. Come over to the studio, hang out, smoke a joint. Let's just talk about stuff. It's more laid back. Where music, you have to be secretive. Oh, it's my secret. I gotta keep it myself. Like I can only let you in a little bit. If you want to let people know, you tease it a little bit. But in art, it's just like, hey man, just check it out. Come over. I probably get more inspirations with more social interaction than not. And then when it's music, I have to do like like the kissing baby politician type deal. I hate that shit. I've always hated it. I've always been real. I've always been real with my friends. Then they understand that, But like, the whole like shaking babies, kissing hands type deal. You know, I'm just like, I can't do that. So like,
I understand it too, because sometimes you deal with people and people are great, and then you get that one person that you go like, man, I'm just not clicking here, but you gotta do the old haha pat pat.
yeah, for sure, and like, and not when I was in New York, I ever had. I mean, you know, one out of 1,000 people, maybe, you know, throughout the years or whatever. Like, there's that one person you just gotta like the necessary evil that you have to like break bread with. That's cool and whatever else, because I had multiple jobs as well other than promoting shows, and that's what you gotta do. You gotta, you know, you got to sell those cogs to the people. So you got to make sure the cog maker is on the same page. So even though you don't like them, so like, but I'm pretty fair, and pretty honest, pretty straightforward. So like, they like that more. You know what I mean when you're like that. So
Well,
out
it's
here
funny.
a little bit.
It's funny because I had somebody say to me a while back that you got to make it elsewhere before you make it in your own hometown, and I find that we started this little endeavor, and it was, hey, everything shut down because of COVID. I figured it was going to be 3, maybe 4 weeks. I was going to be back playing. 2 years later, here we are. Um, as we've gone bigger and we've gone international, we've gone whatever. Every single person that I've met and talked to that isn't in my backyard has been amazing. Everybody that's in my backyard has been amazing, except a very small group of people. But the ones in my own backyard are the ones that have given me the hardest time. Did you find that when you're in New York and maybe it got you out to there?
No, not at all. I left. I didn't leave because someone was like talking shit on me. I didn't leave. I wasn't pushed out. You know, there was a rumor that like, oh, I didn't get said job at said club, and like I just had to leave, and I was just so disgraced. I wanted a life. I wanted
Yeah.
something more. You know what I mean? People, you don't understand that when you live in that life, and you're like, you know, you're doing cocaine up your nose and all this kind of stuff. You don't have that bigger picture. You just have that picture of what's going on in that little square footage of scene, whatever. You know, you don't. I was clear, like seeing more clearly, like what I want for myself and for my newly, you know, engaged girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I want more. You know, I'm like, yeah, here's great, and it's the beacon of the world, but I know there's the world, like there's the world I haven't seen yet. So that was mainly the main reason of leaving. You know, so and that was another thing too. Like again, like we ended up here accidentally. It like faith like made us here. Like we basically packed up our apartment. We had a month free storage from the moving company. They were like, "Oh, if you have an address, just let us know, and we'll send our stuff there." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And we took 3.5 weeks to figure out where we were going to go in the whole United States. So like, it wasn't like, okay, it was a goal because my wife's mom is in Oregon. They're like, okay, if we don't have anything by then, we'll just go there, and then we'll kind of backtrack and see where else. But again, faith landed us here in the Pacific Northwest. So
That's amazing. Oh, and hope you're feeling well, and hope you don't have that cold that's going around here. But
no, I have a lot of allergies.
yeah. So you know what? This is the end of our first segment, and it's going to tie up really nicely to the art segment, because when you mention you have your gala coming up, I want to tackle that because I need to understand how all these things work. I'm not what I would call an art infecturado or effectuado. So anyway, we're going to be back with segment 2 with Rich Hall shortly.